Hey there, we are listening to Green Mountain Mornings on KVT Talk, where Brattleboro listens. I'm your host, Olga Peters, 23 minutes past the top of the hour. Welcome back to my guest, Chris Mays from the Brattleboro Reformer. Hey there, Chris.
Hi.
And I want to remind listeners that this segment of Green Mountain Mornings is being filmed by BC TV. They will have a segment called Green Mountain Mornings tonight online later today, and that is sponsored by Brattleboro Savings and Loan. And I need to give a shout out to all our listeners at Valley Cares. I happened to be at Valley Cares this weekend, and some folks stopped me and they said, "We see you on TV." So thank you, everyone at Valley Cares who tunes in to BC TV to watch Green Mountain Mornings tonight. Chris, tell us, Marlboro College had a graduation this weekend?
It was on Sunday.
Yeah, how'd that go?
Well, it was probably one of the most interesting ceremonies I've been to since I started working here about 6 years ago.
What stood out about it?
Well, at one point, one of the students went up to get his diploma, and there was a loud boo and some commotion in the back of the room, and people were, turning their head. What's going on here? What's going on here? And after all the diplomas were given out, a student went up to the podium and said, you should, this isn't the place for that. That's not what this college is about. That doesn't reflect our values. And then we got to the end of the ceremony, and the music, they were about to have a recessional. The student's grandmother took the stage and went to the podium, and she said, "I want to suggest Marlboro College is progressive in name only." And she said that, there needs to be more diversity of ideas and debate rather than just focused on race and sexual orientation. Since then, I've learned that there's been a dispute, or a series of disputes perhaps, on campus, and the student was very interested in fascism. He went on a trip to Italy, and so he became interested in that, and that led to some issues on campus, and the college president told me that they resolved those issues, and he thought so, and they weren't expecting to see anything crop up at the ceremony, but from his understanding, the person in the back of the room was a former student, and when the security officer went to go, approach him, he fled the building and the property. Well, I know he was approached by students who disagreed with some of the things that he was talking about. Right now, I'm kind of just fielding calls, and I've talked with the grandmother and the students, so I don't feel comfortable talking about it too much. But I wanted to just get that out there, that was the, what was kind of the political beliefs behind the whole thing. Yeah.
Well, if this story evolves, I look forward to hearing more about it. Talk about the Pot Fest in Dover.
Yeah, two inn owners are looking to make this big cannabis festival, where the focus would be on music, arts and crafts sales, and education. And it would be on July 1st, the day that marijuana is legal, in terms of possession for plants and some marijuana.
Okay. So, what is this the one that there's actually going to be a contest where you will get your plants judged?
No, that's actually going to be, they're hoping to do that later on.
Okay.
Yeah. This would have Badfish, the Sublime tribute band. They're booking that band, and they're looking for some money tonight from the town through the 1% local option tax in Dover. And they already presented to the board their proposal, but the board members wanted some more information, so they're going to be giving that to them tonight.
Okay. Is it like, I mean, Dover often likes to sponsor festivals. Do you think this one will be sponsored? Because we also know that the police chief has some concerns in Dover around marijuana.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to say right now, because there is this survey going around to see whether they should support whether to prohibit dispensaries in town. But I think the economic development return on it is what they'll probably be looking at.
Okay.
What kind of crowds they're expecting and what future events, might come out of it.
And that discussion is happening tonight.
Yep.
Be interesting to see what comes out of that conversation as well.
Yeah.
A lot of interesting conversations happening at the municipal levels these days.
Yeah.
One thing we forgot to mention in the top of the hour was the carport at the Brattleboro Select Board will be discussed tonight. And that's is it the carport or the Sallyport for the police fire project?
I think it's the carport.
Carport.
Yeah.
And if listeners will remember, there was about 300,000 surplus funds left over from the police fire project. And one of the things the board has been discussing is building a carport at the new police station. And that will be discussed tonight. Anything about that issue you'll be paying attention to, Chris?
Just to see if there's any other ideas for those funds.
Mm-hmm. Well, we shall find out tonight at the Brattleboro Select Board. We are back. This is Green Mountain Mornings on KVT Talk, where Brattleboro listens. 37 minutes past the top of the hour. I'm your host, Olga Peters. Chris Mays from The Reformer is here in the studio with me. Thank you for being here, Chris.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
And I'm glad you're comfortable here in the studio, because from what I understand, you will be sitting on hard seats at a courthouse for the rest of the day.
There might be cushioned ones.
You're going to see if you can snag one of those.
Yeah, but there will be time in between the 3 hearings today, so I'll probably get to, walk outside a little bit and have some fresh air, which will be nice.
That will be good. Chris is going to be at the Newfane Courthouse, or the Windham County Courthouse, I guess we call it, today for hearings on the Hermitage Club.
Yep, there's a few people or groups that are suing them, basically for lack of payment, and one has to do with a townhouse that a couple bought, and they didn't get they basically broke the contract, allegedly. The Hermitage.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they were supposed to get into it earlier, and they didn't, and then now it's out. Now it's in court. Mm-hmm. But the bigger picture was last week there was a hearing. The Berkshire Bank wanted to appoint a receiver to take care of the property and the properties that they foreclosed on until they're sold at public auction.
Okay.
And so we're waiting to hear back. The judge is going to issue an order on whether a receiver should be appointed. Mm-hmm. But at the hearing, we already knew there was one group interested in buying the Hermitage, basically, and taking on this debt.
Okay.
But then we learned in court that there's a second group.
Oh, wow.
That's talking to Berkshire Bank directly, instead of, the Hermitage Club had their own term sheet with this other group. And so they're both Connecticut people. Mm-hmm. One is a real estate developer, and another one is one of the founders of a financial firm that's based in New York City now.
Huh, okay.
So it's, kind of has me on the edge of my seat thinking, what's going to happen here,
You've been following the Hermitage really closely has it been 6 months that their financial and legal issues have really come to the surface, or has it been longer than that?
Well, we basically first started following financial issues going on there. Maybe it was a month or two before. Maybe it was probably like a month or two before the bank filed the foreclosure complaint against
Okay.
them. And then there was a lot of stuff that happened with the Department of Taxes. They got shut down 3 times, and they're still shut down.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so they can't operate businesses on the properties right now. They've been allowed to do some maintenance to make sure that the buildings or the golf course don't go to waste or things get stolen. They're saying there's a skeleton crew going around and checking out the properties to make sure there's no vandalism or theft. And so the Hermitage Club is arguing, we don't need a receiver. There's going to be someone who's going to buy this and take care of it. There's going to,
And remind me, so because the Hermitage owns a lot of properties, there's the main club at Haystack.
Yep.
And is that the club? There's the clubhouse, and then is that also the property that has all the townhouses and the golf course?
There are some townhouses that are part of this foreclosure complaint.
Okay.
There's also 4 inns.
Oh, wow.
And the golf course.
And where are these 4 inns?
They're kind of near Haystack.
Okay.
Yeah. The Hermitage Inn is basically on Haystack at the base, but the other ones are pretty close by.
Now, Barnes also, Jim Barnes, the man behind the Hermitage Club, also owns a number of properties in Wilmington. I think the White House, the Vermont House.
That's a subject of a lawsuit today.
Okay.
For lack of mortgage payments. So we're gonna see what happens with that today.
Okay. What about some of his other properties in Wilmington? Are they part of what's happening today too?
No, the other one is a lawsuit involving TCF equipment or finance equipment, I believe it's called, and they basically specialize in golf equipment.
Oh, okay.
So they leased out all these golf carts, and they're basically all golf vehicles. Some are used by staff, some are used by the golfers themselves, but it was all leased out to them, and I guess they allegedly stopped making payments.
Okay.
So that's going to be one of the other lawsuits today that I haven't mentioned yet.
Wow. That's a lot of strings to pull and follow in this issue.
Yeah, and some of it's not so obvious. I mean, foreclosure I wrote about last week, it wasn't the Hermitage Club in the paperwork. It wasn't Jim Barnes, the founder and former CEO, but it was advertised on the club's website. So there is some kind of, connection. They were the people who were going to buy this property that was in the foreclosure. They were condo units. So they were going to be offered some kind of admission. They were going to be given some admission rights to the club.
Okay.
So that might be, some kind of deal on a membership or use of the facilities. So it was tied into that. And then there was the Brookbound Inn, which is going into foreclosure, and that was being run by the Hermitage Club. Yeah.
Do we know at this point what kind of precipitated this domino effect of financial issues and foreclosures and all that sort of thing? Did Jim Barnes just overextend himself?
Well, a while back he talked to the select board about how a couple of winters ago the weather didn't go too great. It wasn't a nice winter for skiing.
Right.
But that was kind of a while ago. So I think he also said they've had a slow membership drive, so they haven't gotten as many members as they hoped. But they also talked about the state permitting process and that not going as quickly as they wanted. So the way I look at it is things didn't, match up to the plans. So now we're kind of seeing the consequences of that.
That's a very good point. When he talked about the state permitting process, was there a specific permit he was concerned about?
Yeah, it was the master plan,
Oh, okay.
Act 250,
Yeah.
which all resorts in Vermont are required to have, and this is a 10-year plan.
Mm-hmm.
And there were so many moving pieces. It was hard to get it through.
Mm-hmm.
And even after they got it through, they still had to get Act 250 and permits from the state for each separate project. So it wasn't like, okay, now let's do all this work. It was like, okay, we got that step done. Now we have to get permits for each of the individual projects.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a lot of hoops to jump through.
Mm-hmm.
I will give him that one. Have you had a chance to hear any of the select board conversations around the Hermitage? Have those been taking place, or is this mostly in the courtrooms?
Well, I've talked with some town officials, and they've said they're trying to stay optimistic about things. Right now, there's a tax sale, and to me, it looked like the majority of the properties were the Hermitage Club.
Mm-hmm.
So, the bank paid a lot of the taxes that were owed. So I think that led to a sigh of relief for a lot of the town officials. But I mean, I think they want to see they want to see this place succeed.
Mm-hmm.
They it's good for the valley.
Definitely. Well, and there's a lot of restaurants and, like you said, inns tied up in this too, which are their own little economic drivers in of themselves.
Yeah.
Little economic development.
And it all goes to the 1% local option tax, which funds a lot of projects the town wants to do. Like
in Dover.
Events funds. In Wilmington.
Oh, right.
Too.
In Wilmington, they have the 1% too. I forgot.
Yeah, they give out grants for different projects and events.
Mm-hmm.
And so it helps with economic development, not just at the Hermitage Club.
Right. Well, I hope you can snag one of the chairs with a cushion today.
Yeah, that'll be nice.
Because three court events to sit through, that's no small task.
Yeah, I think it's 11:30, 1:30, and 3:30.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Might be a little off there, but...
Good luck. Good luck. Besides the Hermitage, are there other issues around the towns that you cover that you'll be keeping an eye on this week?
I'm gonna be interested to see how the cannabis festival plays out, like I was talking about before. I'm talking with somebody about a Chesterfield, New Hampshire concert series they're going to be doing today.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Good variety.
Yeah.
Good variety. And of course, all your municipal coverage.
Yeah. Oh, and I should say, a story is coming out. Mount Snow is going to be doing another big concert. They did that big electronic music festival.
Oh, yeah,
dance music festival.
Yeah.
And so they're saying, well, we saw how successful that is. Maybe we're going to experiment with more large-scale concerts. So they're going to have the Angry Orchard Rock the Roots tour make a stop at Mount Snow.
Okay.
With some pretty big-name artists like Rome with Sublime, Modest Yahoo, and some Lupe Fiascos. They're pretty big names.
That will be fun. Will you be signing up for that?
I don't know. I might be on vacation. Yeah, I was offered a ticket, but we'll see. I might be on vacation.
Man, I tell you, if you got to sit through court sessions, you should also be able to go to concerts.
Yeah,
you need to balance things out.
Well, I was supposed to go to the last one, the electronic dance festival, but then we went and we got on the line, and then we were like, it's too long.
Never mind. Well, Chris, as always, wonderful to have you on the show.
Thanks.
And I look forward to having you back in 2 weeks. Correct? Because Harmony will be in next week. Look forward to Harmony, too. It's always fun to have her on the show. Take care.
You too.